Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the TV Central podcast. I'm Aaron Ryan, and it's nice to be here bringing you a fresh podcast over the summer television season. What do Russell Crowe, Alan Dale, Grant Bowler, Rachel Hunter, and Simone Kessell have in common? They are New Zealand actors that we always try and claim as our own. Yes, the lovely Simone Kessell has been in a swag of Australian international shows and currently stars in Terra Nova, screening Sunday nights on Network 10, and she joins me right now at the TV Central podcast. Simone, thanks for joining me.
Hello, how are you?
Very, very good. Well, look,
Good.
an interesting thing, I spoke to a number of people about this podcast, and all of them knew you, but it was interesting that they all knew you from different places and a number of different roles. One actually pointed out Dog Eat Dog. You were the host of the Seven Network game show in the late 90s. Now, didn't run for very long, but what are your memories of that? All I
Of Dog
remember is
Eat
the rock
Dog.
climbing.
Yeah, I quite like the rock climbing. Dog Eat Dog was, a very short-lived game show. I think it was not, it was kind of, 2001 or two, I think. But no, that was definitely an adventure down the hosting road, presenting, and it was kind of an avenue I was dabbling with, and I realized that it's something I didn't want to pursue. Thank goodness, because kind of acting's always been, something I love doing, and presenting just kind of happened, really, I guess.
So I was going to ask you that if how you enjoyed presenting versus straight acting. So definitely not going back to presenting then.
Not anytime soon, unless nothing happens in the acting world. But no, I think it's something we all try, and and I realize that no, it's sort of something that I don't really hold close to my heart.
Look, another memory lane one. One of my favourite shows at the time, but one that Ruth Ritchie from the Sydney Morning Herald claimed was the worst show in the history of the world, which is a bit mean. That was Undercover Angels, which was a take on the Charlie's Angels television show. I mean, the whole play up on the Charlie's Angels, I suppose was maybe a bit much, but the premise of the show was to reward good everyday people for their good deeds, which I thought was a positive spin. I mean, what did you think of the series? I thought it was a lovely touch for TV.
It was a great idea. Unfortunately, they didn't have creatives behind it who could think outside of the box. The idea was that you give back to people who are in need. And it was a bit cheesy, but tell me a show that isn't cheesy, a reality show, it's always kind of got a cheesy outcome. But with Undercover Angels, again, that was actually around the same time I did Dog Eat Dog. And I think it was a nice idea behind it, but they were just looking for an avenue for Ian Thorpe, and I guess honestly the best thing that came out of that was my friendship with Ian, and I still consider him one of my closest friends. So it can only be good. It can only be a positive.
Now, for the record, in case people are wondering, now I do remember, as you mentioned, Ian Thorpe was Charlie, and I do remember yourself and Jackie O. Who was the third angel?
It was Katie Underwood.
Oh, from the Bardo back at the time, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Now, you've starred in McLeod's Daughters, of course, a prominent role there, Heartbreak High, Medivac, Underbelly, All Saints, Wildside, Stingers, GP, Water Rats, and recently Panic at Rock Island. Did I miss any of the Australian dramas?
I have no idea. I can't even remember half of those. But yeah, they all sung right.
What memories stand out when you look back at some of those?
Well, look, McLeod's Daughters was the pilot. We shot that originally with Jack Thompson. I think it was Tammy McIntosh and Kim Wilson were the lead daughters. And I was 18 at the time, and I had been working a lot in New Zealand. And it was an opportunity. A casting agent kind of came over and said, look, I think you should try moving across the ditch, I think. And McLeod's Daughters was the first thing that I ever did in Australia. And after that, it was time for me to move out of New Zealand. And so that's prominent in my memory because it was the kind of calling card for me to come over to Australia. Yeah, and then all the other shows sort of fell into line. Everything, from Water Rats. And then eventually in 2004, I moved to Los Angeles and did a lot of American television, and that was a really positive move. And now, I think it was around 2009, I did Underbelly, the second season, and from there I started coming back more to Australia for work, and it was about that time that I thought, okay, it's time to relocate back to Australia, because not just because of work, but a lifestyle. LA can kind of draw you in and then sort of spit you out, and it was time to move on, really.
Well, when you were overseas, your international shows, although some were filmed here in Australia, CSI Miami, Fringe, White Collar Blue. I actually remember those couple of episodes you're in because that's one of my favourite shows. Farscape, Hercules, Criminal Minds, The Lost World, Xena. How are the productions different?
Gosh, I've been around, haven't I? Sorry, what was the question?
So how are the productions different to stuff that's filmed down under?
I think the budgets. I think budgets are pretty impressive. They have American actors are all under the SAG union, so to actually get to that stage is kind of quite difficult. You've got to be SAG eligible, and then you become SAG, and then you can get the jobs. So, it's a different process there. I think once you get the jobs, it's a celebration. You start getting television currency, I guess you could call it. And for me, it felt like, okay, I've ticked that box. I've done, CSI tick. I've done Fringe tick. And I got a few, roles. I actually did a role in Frost Nixon, but unfortunately the character was cut out. So I felt like I was a working actress and then Reaper, actually. Reaper was a great show to work on. I felt like I was a working actress in Los Angeles, but again, it was, the shows, the money, everything is fantastic, but unless the show's a big hit and for some reason you stand out, you just go on to the next one. Yeah.
Well, an interesting piece of trivia there you just mentioned, you made an appearance in the series Reaper. Now, you would have filmed that some time ago, but it actually, the episode that you were in, or episodes, they'll actually appear on 7 Mate at the end of December, because they actually haven't been screened here. They're new episodes screening on 7 Mate, so just in a couple of weeks you'll be on 7 Mate. Who did you play in the series?
I played the devil girlfriend. I've had some great roles. I played the devil's girlfriend, and it was so much fun. I think it was a real shame that show got canned, because I think, one of the last episodes towards the end of that season, and they were telling me that they were bringing that character back as a series regular, but unfortunately that show didn't continue on. So, Reaper's a great show. It's very funny, and it was, so much fun to work on.
Well, yeah, we'll look out for you in a couple of weeks on 7 Mate. Now, you've been, obviously, we listed a whole heap of shows. You must have built up some good friends along the way. Anyone that we would know of? Or Thorpe?
Yeah, well, Sophie, I have. I know it's funny, because it's not until you get back on the set of another show that you're like, oh my goodness, you work again. Like you mentioned Medivac years ago. I worked with Grant Bowler on that, and then last year we shot Panic at Rock Island. So, you get to know the same actors, and even though it's kind of a small pot, I think, even in New Zealand, but especially in Australia, and then in America, you meet a lot of well-known people, and also my husband's a filmmaker, so it makes, we know some great people, for sure.
Now, I haven't forgotten Terra Nova. We'll get to that in a moment, but it's interesting getting to know you as a person. Now, you mentioned your husband, Australian director Gregor Jordan. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yes, yeah.
Now, you mentioned, he's quite a talent. I was just having a look at some of the stuff that he's done. He's worked with Heath Ledger and Brian Brown at least twice, and has won a Best Direction Award and Screenplay for one of my favourite Australian films, Two Hands. He's quite the talent, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's a writer-director, and we met over in Los Angeles in 2004, and here we are, going into 2012. But he absolutely is, and I was lucky enough to be in one of his films, The Informers, which he shot in Los Angeles with Billy Bob Thornton, Kim Basinger, Winona Ryder, Mickey Rourke. It's quite an amazing cast, actually. He is definitely a talent, and he's got a couple of projects in development now. So hopefully we'll see something along the veins of another Two Hands.
Did he speak to you about what it was like working or directing Heath Ledger early on with Two Hands, and then later I think he was with Ned Kelly?
Yes, Heath is a very, very close, was a very, very close friend to both Gregor and myself. So, I probably won't go into that.
No worries. Um, so amongst all you do and your hubby does, you've also got your son Jack. I guess he would be about 6 or something now. So
Yeah, he is.
how's the family going?
It's great, and I think that was another reason to move back to Australia because I don't know, the schools, the beaches, Sydney, it's lovely here. So it was time to bring him back and, come back to be educated, I guess, in Australia.
Is he allowed to watch Terra Nova?
He loves Terra Nova. I guess because he came out to set quite a few times. He's dinosaur crazy even before I got the show. So the idea that Mum was out shooting dinosaurs with sonic guns and, fighting bad guys was a little boy's dream come true. Because before that I'd shot a film in India and in Queensland at the start of the year. But he wasn't really interested in that. It was a period epic romance. But now that, Mum's running around with armor and a big sonic gun, it's kind of cool, especially for him. And, I think he might have a bit of street cred at school.
Well, overall, both you and your husband have had some obviously success moving from Australia to LA. We mentioned all the American shows you've been in, plus Terra Nova, and Greg has gone on to make big. He was started with Australia with Big Sky and went on to international shows and movies. Have you two just been really blessed and lucky, or has it been a lot of hard work and a lot of patience and trying?
That's such a lovely thing to say. I think we've worked really, really hard. I think, when you look at it on paper, we've been incredibly productive, and I think Gregor has been incredibly successful. And I've been very fortunate to kind of continue doing it. I mean, I think I've been acting for over 20 years now. So the idea of that is quite astonishing. But yeah, it's a lot of work. Like, I watch Gregor, he's in the middle of writing a script at the moment, and he's been working on that for over a year now. It's so much work. And I think there's definitely talent there, but luck, it's actually all about luck. If you're in the right place at the right time and people then absolutely. Luck has been our friend.
Well, the last thing before we talk about Terra Nova, 5 quick questions. Favorite television shows?
I love Breaking Bad, and I've been watching Arrested Development, obviously the old season. I love Arrested Development. Just finishing The Slap right now, which we TiVo'd, recorded, which I haven't quite finished it, so I can't give you a full, review on that. Television. How I Met Your Mother. Very strange, but I spent a lot of time on an aeroplane, flying back and forth to Los Angeles, even up to the Gold Coast. It's always on a screen on an aeroplane, and I find it very funny. I don't know why. And then 4 is pretty good. I think you're only going to get 4 out of me right now.
And what about favorite films? Or
There's
one or
so
two?
many. Yeah. I mean, everything. I think the piano was one of the reasons I pursued acting. It made me realize that it's such an incredible thing to be able to move people like that. It's like going to the museum, again and again. So the piano was very, very strong in my creative vision as a younger actress. And then I've got so many favorite films, and I know I'll finish this interview and go, I should have said that. But many. And actually, even Gregor's film, he did a film called Buffalo Soldiers, and with Joaquin Phoenix, and that's a pretty impressive film as well.
What about just your favorite thing to do on a day off?
Day off? That's a good question. I love to run. I think running is my meditation time. I'm not much of a yogi so I love to run. I love to sneak off if it's raining. I use that as an excuse to go to the cinema and sit there with an ice cream. Or just read scripts and books. Nothing better than a cup of tea in bed with a book.
Of course. What about an actor you'd like to work with?
Oh, an actor I'd like to work with. I think Kate Winslet.
Ooh.
I think she's such a wonderful actress, and I think she is truth. I think she's so honest in her choices as an actress. So I think Kate Winslet, I would love to work with her.
All right, well, let's move on to your role in Terra Nova because we're not going to forget that one, of course. It's airing
Mm.
Network 10 Sundays at 8:30. Now, you play Alicia Washington, second in command at the colony.
Mhm.
How have you enjoyed playing Alicia?
It's interesting because Alicia came along, they'd already shot the pilot for Terra Nova at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, and they were recasting, there was a character called Guzman in the show, and they realized that perhaps it was too male heavy, so they decided to, he was in the pilot, but they decided after the pilot to bring in a female, another street female character who was the military, who was, a lieutenant. So I came in right at the tail end of their pilot and was sort of dotted throughout the pilot to establish the character, well, the look of the character. And then I was straight into the first episode. So it was from the minute I got cast to the minute I was on set, it all happened so very, very quickly. So I kind of hit the ground running. To be physical was a key thing. To really have an understanding of the military was another key aspect of playing Washington. So all those things I had to quickly research and quickly get up to speed with because I've been playing a British governess in 1849 prior to that. So I had to shed that character and quickly jump into this kick-ass,
Mm,
heart of gold, tough chick.
mm.
And so that was definitely a challenge, but I think I got there in the end, and I didn't have the luxury of the time that the rest of the cast did, knowing about the time travel, the period in which it was set, the future, having met all the executives and the producers and the American people on the show. So I kind of got up to speed halfway through. But look, it was an amazing journey, and the cast were exceptional, and I was very blessed to have landed that role.
Is there I guess an underlining theme or agenda in the series? I mean, it talks about overpopulation, pollution, air quality. Is there something the creators wanted to get across about how we live today in society and what consequences that may have on our future, or is it just a show and I've just read it in way too much?
Say that again. Sorry.
Well, well, the underlining theme of the series is about overpopulation in the future, pollution and air quality, things like that. I'm just wondering if you feel the creators wanted to get across a point about how we live today in society and what consequences that may have on our future, or am I perhaps reading into that too much and it's just a show and that they
I
didn't.
think I think it was a great idea to open the pilot with such extreme kind of poverty and how the world is going. I would like to think that it's a message saying, come on, people, we need to think about what we're doing to our environment, and global warming is real, and what we're doing to our world. I think there is that, but they never really touch on that again. I think it was to show that I think it was to show that Terra Nova was the new world, the land utopia, to show the difference of this incredible place that exists, and they needed such an extreme way to show that.
Mm. Well, this place you're talking about, the series was shot obviously in southeast Queensland, but also had, I believe they shot in Brisbane and the Gold Coast as well, and 250 sets were constructed. I wouldn't normally ask what it's like working in beautiful sunny Queensland, but I believe it was quite horrendous at times with torrential rain and stuff.
That, and I actually was fortunate enough not to be a part of the torrential rain. That was when they shot the pilot at the end of
Right.
last year. So I came on when it was all dry and perfect, and it was quite lovely. But the sets are impressive. They're an impressive construction to them. I mean, there's a lot of money in the sets, and the locations. I mean, obviously the waterfalls and stuff are real, but a lot is CG. So I think that to walk onto one of those sets as an actor and know that this is your world, that to me was a moment which hit me quite strongly in the beginning. I was quite taken back with how much work and thought and care and talent had been put into creating the world of Terra Nova, and I think that is really strong in the show. When you watch the show, you can see that this is a world, and it actually really has that feeling when you're working on those sets.
Mm. With I guess CGI so prevalent in the series. I mean, what's it like to act in that? Is it? I mean, because you might be being chased or hunted down or attacked by a dinosaur, but in
That's it.
reality, there's
Yeah.
nothing there, is there?
There's nothing there. It's. I was actually concerned. I think that's a really good question because I was quite concerned. I'm not that down with dinosaurs. I'm not down with the Jurassic stage or the size of a Spinosaurus or a Brachiosaurus or even a T-Rex or pterodactyl. I'm not quite down with that. I am now, but at the time they were like, okay, so Simone, we're going to have this huge flying bird coming at you, kind of like a pterodactyl crossed with a bird. And I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, bring it on. Going, what am I, and what's your reaction to that? Because I know as me, as Simone, I'd be out of there, but my character just stands there and it's like, bring it on. Come here, so that was a moment I had to just shut down all my reactions and really go, okay, could totally bite my head off, but that's cool. It was, even though there was nothing there. And then, so it's really interesting because I'm watching the episodes with everybody else. I haven't seen these episodes other than the ADR that I've been doing. So to see how they've come to life is really amazing. I think there's an episode where there's a whole lot of birds coming. I don't know what they were called actually. They were attacking us, and so to see how they look on the screen is amazing. But at the time, I had no idea what they were going to look like. So, yeah, it is really interesting trying to kind of act with make-believe dinosaurs or what you believe the dinosaur should look like, and then what it actually ends up looking like.
Yeah, that would be weird. Look, by the time this podcast is up, episode 10 would have just aired on December the 4th, leaving 3 episodes remaining. So we're on the home stretch. What can you tell us about the final lot of episodes?
Well, the season finale, I know my character doesn't play so much until oh, it's my dog, until the last. The big, I think they're playing the 2 episodes together, the last 2 episodes together, which will turn into a huge season finale. And I guess that's to secure ratings and secure numbers in order to see if they pick up a second season. But let's just say it is epic, and it's an epic journey. So I'm not allowed to say anything other than that.
Are you aware of whether that second season has been given the green light yet?
No, they haven't been picked up for a second season yet.
Okay, and just, I mean, I don't want to spoil the end, but in case the second season does not go ahead, is the first season wrapped up nicely with satisfaction, or did the writers do a big cliffhanger with the intention of season 2 going ahead?
No, I think there's a bit of both, actually. That's an interesting point. There's a bit of both. There isn't like what's going to happen. It is wrapped up, but there are still some remaining questions because the whole of Terra Nova is turned upside down.
Okay.
Let's just say the portal is used again and other things happen, and it's quite scary, actually. It's quite scary. And, it becomes Armageddon.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay, finally, what's coming up for you next in terms of projects?
So the next, right at the moment, I'm in the middle of, I've got my producer's hat on, and we're making a documentary actually of Ian Thorpe's return to competitive swimming, which we've been following him for the last year, so that's been fantastic. We just got back from Asia filming him and the journey of Ian Thorpe, and then next up for me is I'll be heading over to Los Angeles in the new year. There's a couple of projects there that they're keen to kind of get me involved with. So, and for now, I'm open to. There's been a couple of offers here, but for now, I guess I'm just seeing what comes in. But it's exciting. There's some really wonderful things out there. So we shall see.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting about Terra Nova, but also getting to know you a little bit better as well. So thanks for joining me at TV Central.
Thank you so much, Aaron, and thank you for your intelligent questions.
No worries. Simone Kessell, star of Network 10's big budget series Terra Nova, which airs Sundays at 8:30 p.m. Now, just an update with the series. Episode 10 that has just aired December 4th is the last one for the year. Network 10 wants to expose the series to the widest possible audience and will therefore take a break over the Christmas holidays. The series will return in January, but at this moment 10 does not have a date for me, but they assure me that the 3 remaining episodes will indeed air in January. What a nice treat having Simone on today, and thank you so much. That's all for this podcast. Until the next one, I'm Aaron Ryan for tvcentral.com.au. See you then.